Hello everybody, and welcome back to more of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dynasty series. It's me, Cooper, and today we're going to be going through another character deck profile for Duelist Kingdom. The next character we have coming up is Bandit Keith. Yes, Bandit Keith, the man who robbed his way up to the semifinals of Duelist Kingdom. Now, this man, time has not been nice to him because he loves him some high power machines, and the new rule where you actually have to tribute summon your monsters really screwed this guy up. But let's get into his cards. It's time for his ace monster, the card we all know him for. I struggled between giving him Slot Machine and Barrel Dragon. I ended up going with Barrel Dragon, even though I think Slot Machine might be a little more iconic. The reason I did this is because my friend Wookie told me to. Alright, now going back to this, his ace monster Barrel Dragon is amazing. This is one of the few cards you're going to find back in the day with an effect that you can activate over and over again once per turn. I'm not even joking, that was not a very common thing back in Duelist Kingdom, and it's actually a pretty damn good effect. Even though it is a gamble effect, it's a pretty damn good effect. What you do is you flip 3 coins. If you get 2 or more heads, you get to pop a monster on your opponent's side of the field, your choice. If you get 2 or more tails, you don't get to do anything. Which is fine. You don't lose anything, you just don't get to do anything. Hell, that's not even really a gamble, it's just you don't get to do something compared to being able to do something. But let's go ahead and get into his rare cards. Bandit Keith's rare cards are actually pretty freaking solid. We got Metal Morph and Time Machine. So, Metal Morph is one of the most interesting equip traps you're going to find. What it does is it just naturally increases your monster's attack stat by 300. And I know what you guys are thinking, 300 attack, that's kind of average back in the day. That's not special. Yes, it's not. But when you attack your opponent's monster, not when they attack you, but when you attack your opponent's monster, you get to steal half of their attack points. They don't lose the attack points, but you get to gain half of their attack points as your own attack points on top of the 300 point buff you already have. So say you have a 2000 attack point monster, you are now 2300 attack, you attack your opponent's 1000 attack point monster, you steal 500 of their attack, putting you at 2800 attack. They're still at 1000, I know I keep saying steal, but ignore me. They're still at 1000, you're at 2800. It's freaking amazing. Metal Morph is one of the best equip traps in the game back in the day. And his Time Machine's nothing to freaking sleep on either. It's actually really good. Time Machine lets you, when a monster gets destroyed by battle, bring it back to the field. Just special summon it back into the field. That's it. Now, if you can do this for your opponent, it says you're allowed to special summon your opponent's monster when you destroy it by battle, but obviously you're probably going to use this trap to revive your own card. Revival cards like this are super rare. Other than Monster Reborn and like Call of the Haunted, there's no one that has these kind of cards. So Time Machine is pretty freaking solid. This is going to be one of the best revival cards you see in this tournament, and honestly, it's going to give Bandit Keith a chance to summon his bigger monsters, because he's got other rare cards. The other rare cards I want to talk about, number 1, his 7 completed, the card that he used to cheat in Duelist Kingdom semifinals. He was slipping them under his sleeve. If anything, Bandit Keith did 2 things. He cheated in 2 ways. 1, he did some coaching, which we'll get to later. And 2, he was slipping cards underneath his sleeve so he could draw them instead of the top of his deck. And those were the 7 completed to power up his monsters. Now, 7 completed is a very interesting card. It gives your monster a 700 attack point buff or a 700 defense point buff, your choice. 700 attack back in the day is not a very common effect. You may have Yugi's Horn of the Unicorn or Weevil's Insect Armor with barrier cannon, I can't remember, with laser cannon. Those cards do give you the 700 buff, but it was very rare to get this big of a buff, and he runs 3 7 completed. And you could choose the defense stat if you really need to stall, and stalling is how you can get out your bigger monsters, which is what he needs to do. So, 7 completed, rare card, amazing. And his other rare card that I think is absolutely incredible is a burn card called the Blast Sphere. The Blast Sphere is his answer to Maneater Bug. Well, I mean, like how he gets into Man-Eater Bug. You play this monster face down defense position. If your opponent's monster attacks it, it latches onto your opponent's monster as an equip spell. And then by your opponent's next standby phase, it blows up your opponent's monster. It also cancels that attack, so they can't attack anymore. And then it blows up your opponent's monster. And when it blows up your opponent's monster, your opponent takes damage equal to their attack stat. Blast Sphere could take out a Blue Eyes and do 3,000 damage to your opponent's life points, if it had to. This is an amazing card to have in Bandit Keith's deck. Now, let's get into Bandit Keith's stats. His attack stat is godlike. This man runs some of the strongest cards in the game. He is all about high power cards. Now, sadly, most of them are 2 tribute monsters, so his attack stat, not the best. It's not perfect because most of his best attack cards come from 2 tribute monsters. But the reason it is almost perfect is because he does have one, and I'm going to mention it right now, one monster that he does not need tributes for, that I'm giving him. It's an old normal machine from back in the day. I don't even care if he didn't use it in Duelist Kingdom, I'm giving it to him. Mechanical Chaser at 1850 attack. 1850 is stronger than all of Kaiba's normal non-tribute monsters. I did give Kaiba a higher attack stat, but there's a good reason for that, and we're going to get into it right now. 1850 attack is really freaking good. It beats over most of the people's monsters. But let's get into his tribute monsters. He has the Sword Slasher, which is a tribute monster with 1450 attack and 1500 defense. It's terrible. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's a brick. This card is useless. And the reason I'm talking about is this is why his attack points aren't perfect. Also, he runs a card called Ancient Tool with 1700 attack tribute monster. Terrible. Terrible. The fact that he runs it is horrible. He also runs the Pendulum Machine at 1750 attack. That's actually almost passable. That's fine. And then we can get into his 2 tribute monsters. So, what I mean by that is monsters that require 2 tributes. His Slot Machine at 2000 attack, that is not acceptable. If you're summoning a monster with 2 tributes, 2000 is not acceptable. That is way too little for a 2 tribute monster. Then we can get on to his Launcher Spider at 2200 attack. That's almost passable, but it's not very good for a 2 tribute monster in terms of attack stat. And now we can start getting into the cards that made his attack stat almost perfect. It's the Zoa, one of the only non-machine monster. It might be the only non-machine monster now that I look at it. One of the only non-machine monsters in his deck. It is a Fiend monster at 2600 attack points. But the Metal Zoa, when mixed with his rare card, the Metal Morph, can be, the Zoa mixed with rare card Metal Morph can become the Metal Zoa. And the Metal Zoa is rocking a perfect 3000 attack stat. Even though Zoa mixed with Metal Morph is technically better because of Metal Morph's attacking effect. If you need a monster with 3000 attack because you can't rely on keeping your trap card, maybe you're fighting somebody, say, that has Harpy's Feather Duster. Go with the 3000 attack point monster. Its weakness is you can only special summon it from the deck, not from the hand. So you have to have Zoa and Metal Morph attached to it on the field, and Metal Zoa must be in your deck. If the character or one of my friends that picks Bandit Keith draws Metal Zoa, they can never use the card. There's no cards in his deck to put it back in his deck. He's done. It's a brick. It can't do anything for him. It's useless. But also, he's got this, look at his ace monster. He has the Barrel Dragon at 2600 attack. A 2 tribute monster, you look at Dark Magician at 25, you're like, you know what, that's the most solid. Well, this guy's 26, he's way stronger. And no, 100's not way strong, it's way stronger, I don't care. He's got that freaking popping effect, it's amazing. So this is why his attack stat is almost perfect. He has a 3000 attack point Metal Zoa. He's got Zoa at 2600. He's got more than one Barrel Dragon at 2600. It's just freaking amazing. But let's get into Bandit Keith's defense stat, which is almost perfect as well. It's actually pretty damn good. It's not quite as good as attack, but it's pretty damn good because he has monsters like the Robotic Knight. He has monsters like let's get back to his other ones. Pendulum Machine at 2000 defense. Slot Machine. I did say bad things about its attack stat at 2000, but its defense stat is 2300, and that's actually really good. It can hold back most monsters in this series. His Launcher Spider at 2,500 defense. Yes, this card is actually pretty damn good for defense. 2,500, it can hold back a Dark Magician, which means it is the perfect monster for defense. And this is why his defense stat is pretty good. Plus, I gave him defense points for having Metal Morph, for having Time Machine, which can resummon a monster even if you lose it, for having Blast Sphere, which can literally pop a monster that was going to kill you. So, overall, his defense stat is really freaking high. Attack stat, amazing, almost perfect. Defense stat, really freaking high. Time to move on to Bandit Keith's speed stat, and that is horrible. Absolutely disgraceful. Bandit Keith, there's a reason he had to freaking slip cards under his sleeve, because his deck is just terrible when it comes to draw power. He has almost none. Most characters in this series have Pot of Greed, so that's basically all he's getting. Other than that, he's most likely going to draw a level 6 or higher, or no, level 5 or higher monster, which is completely useless. He can't even use Metal Zoa, slows down his deck completely. I guess the reason his speed stat isn't like 1 or 0 is because Time Machine will technically bring back a monster. So he does have some special summoning potential. And the same Metal Zoa I just said, that is technically a special summon. So that means he could summon it and then normal summon on the same turn. It's not worth it. It's so bad. His speed stat is 2. It's god-awful, guys. It's god-awful. His attack stat may be godlike. His defense stat may be amazing. But his speed stat is just terrible. It's going to take this man. He's got to be so defensive just to get out one of these big monsters. And then that big monster has to win him the duel. So yeah, it's just not good. And then we can get into what should have been obvious, his brick stat. His brick stat is the Brick House. This freaking deck is just a brick waiting to happen. It's so bad. There are way too many tribute monsters. He has too many dead cards, like the Sword Slasher level 5 monster that is weaker than 90% of the cards in his deck. His tribute monster is weaker than most of his normal monsters. His freaking Barrel Dragons require 2 tributes. His Metal Zoa is a dead card if he draws it and is basically useless. His Zoa is a 2 tribute monster. His Launcher Spider is a 2 tribute monster. His Slot Machine's a 2 tribute monster. His Pendulum Machine is not even good in attack. His Ancient Tool is worse in attack. And it's both tribute monsters. Tribute monster, tribute monster, tribute monster. When you're looking at Bandit Keith, most of his cards are level 5 and up. Most of them. Maybe half of them. Let's say half of his monster cards are level 5 and up, and the other half are only because I took pity on him and gave him multiple copies of cards he showed in the freaking show. So, other than that, yeah, no, this guy's gonna break, okay? Any one of my friends that get this guy, they have to be super careful with the monsters that can be normal summoned, and then they're gonna need to use Time Machine to keep those monsters from, like, leaving the field so they can be used as tributes. And then, I don't know. Honestly, this is a very brickable deck. This deck is super brickable. This is why we called it the Brick House. Brickable is more of a Joey thing. This is the Brick House. This deck, I can't believe I'm saying this, is the second worst offender of having a brick deck. A deck that just constantly bricks. I know, I'm alluding to somebody worse in this tournament. Somebody has a worse brick deck than Bandit Keith, and I didn't even know that was possible after listing off all the crap he has. But what are you gonna do? Somebody is worse. So he's high power, he's high defense, he has good rare cards like Metal Morph, Blast Sphere, 7 completed, Time Machine. Let's get into his potential. Bandit Keith, your potential is 3 stars, actually above average. The reason I'm giving him an above average thing, his rare cards are freaking good, guys. Blast Sphere does burn damage on top of killing the monster. Metal Morph literally takes your opponent's attack stat and gives you half. Time Machine brings back your monsters, and he has multiples. He has monsters that literally can win duels like Barrel Dragon that have a once per turn effect that can just destroy. He literally has monsters that are rocking at crazy attack stats. He will always have a tribute monster in his hand. So if he's able to get one of them out, he can win the duel with them. So whoever gets Bandit Keith, it's going to be a tough road. But if you can get your monsters out consistently, if you protect your weak monsters just for tributing using the Time Machine or maybe 7 completed, you can get your bigger monsters out. You can win the tournament. I'm giving him 3 stars. That's going to be it, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you're excited to see Bandit Keith in the tournament. And good luck to any of my friends that get him. I don't want the Brick House deck. I'll use it, but I don't want the Brick House deck.